we argue about what an orgasm actually looks like for a woman. Like the clitoral structure wasn't even, fully discovered or like talked about until very like in the past decade. I've done like where I did 30 days of masturbating. Fun experiment. It was a lot of days too. Women that are in their like 40 plus, I think, have stronger orgasms generally. So it's kind of a fun like thing that we've seen so far.
That is
so good.
So makes me so hopeful about the future.
Kinky Nerds.
Okay, so hi Anna.
Hi Anna.
Hello.
Second episode of Kinky Nerds. You know me, I'm Pear, and this is Coco.
Hi, I'm Coco.
She's one of the rare gems of the clinical sexologist here in Thailand.
Wow, yay.
Took me a while to find certified clinical sexologist here. So
it was very new in Thailand. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're multiplying.
That's incredible.
I
love it.
We have so many questions prepared for you. And but we want to also take a step back and just like from square one, like what is like the basics of pleasure?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to introduce to everyone as well that Anna is one of the groundbreaking taboos in sexual wellness. She started a sexual wellness company called Lioness, and it's doing super well in creating new studies and more research around female pleasure, around your orgasm data. So the vibrator that I have never tried, I can't believe it, is a vibrator that measures your orgasm data. So you can see your orgasm data and through AI analysis, give you tips on how to have better orgasms, better and better. And it's also used in clinical studies to provide more research into female pleasure because we don't have much of that yet. Am I missing anything, Anna?
No, I think that sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Except for the part that you haven't used it yet, which
hurts
my soul. But...
Such a red flag. I'm like,
we need to bring some into Thailand.
Yeah, we'll find a. There's always a way. We'll figure it out.
Okay, I love it.
Watching this and wants to try a smart vibrator by Lioness, DM me and Coco. So how are you tonight?
I'm good. Yeah, it's for me, it's 8 p.m. Overall, it's been good. Like a really busy and hectic year for sure.
In terms of the research side, what's been busy?
Yeah, I would say just about everything. I think we've on the research side, like a little shy of 12 months. The paper with Dr. Jim Faust got published, which was on orgasm patterns, and that was using the Lioness data and with 25 participants. And so I think since then it's been just really interesting to see so many researchers come out and wanting to do research. And then we actually just expanded into Europe as well. So now we're selling in all across Europe, which is really exciting. A lot of language translations being done, but overall really good.
Like throughout Europe, where can they align us?
So we partnered with one of the distributors there. So you can actually find it on Easy Toys and Amarelli as well. And then European retailers are going to start carrying it all across all the countries. So I think you could pretty much find it anywhere and you can get it shipped anywhere within Europe.
Okay.
Oh,
and then
so exciting.
I know, it's big. I'm excited.
When is it coming to Asia?
Great question. So we do have them in Japan and Singapore through Fermata. I think that's been the toughest growth, I think, for us is understanding Asia. Obviously, it's a really different market and cultural differences as well. And Asia is so big. I think similar to if you say Europe, like every country has its own cultural backgrounds and all of that. So for example, for me, like one of my passion projects has been to try to get it into Korea. But I think even now living in America for so long, even though I grew up in Korea, it's hard to even understand like the modern generation and understanding like what that path looks like for sexual pleasure and masturbation and insertable toys especially. So it's been definitely a journey. Definitely on my top priority of things is to get it to Asia though at some point.
And in Korea it's fully legal, right? Like,
It is fully legal, yes. So that is, and there has been an uptick in sexual pleasure generally. So we've seen these like really big sex toy shops in like really main streets like Gangnam, Hongdae, like all of those like main streets are having these like really big sex toy shops, which has been really cool. But I
Are they
think still
kind of welcoming types of sex toy shops?
they are. So I actually went to all of them and it's actually incredible. They like are really well lit. There's like music playing. There's a lot of like young couples coming in. And then all the store people that are working there are like really knowledgeable, very friendly. So they did that whole like I know a really big one a couple years ago was called Red Container. So it's like a giant shipping container that's red and it's like really well brightly lit inside. So I think it's on good tracks for kind of sex positive like that.
Amazing. Like
Yeah.
that's
I know.
the Asia's, every country in Asia is different. That's also
Mhm.
true because you know in Thailand
It's
we're
illegal.
still one of the
Mm.
last 9 countries in the
Yes.
world where
Yeah,
it's illegal.
Exactly.
Which
Wow.
like you can get it from a few selected stores and the owners are like kind of risking it to
Mm.
like the heroes of the street, you know, like like
Wow.
good toys, but then there's always, you know, those like plasticky hot pink
Yeah.
like those toys on the streets of Nana, and you can get the massage wands on like online stores as well.
Yeah, but that's still
Oh.
standardized.
Yeah, they're
or
just titled
fully safe.
and
Yeah.
they're titled as massage wands. You can find them.
What about like lubricants and like handcuffs and things like that? Like does that fall in the realm of sex toys or
No,
No.
so the law still states that it's anything within that looks obscene
Yeah.
objects
Yes.
puts you into jail for 3 years.
Yeah.
Right?
And 100,000
wow.
fine, which is
Yeah.
like around 3,000
So they
US
still
dollars.
like they still think that a vibrator is like looks like a phallic, like a dildo. So anything
Oh,
that doesn't look
interesting.
like that will probably pass.
Wow, because it's not obscene. So like suction toys, I'm guessing bullets and stuff probably will be okay.
It would be okay if the packaging doesn't say sex or
Yeah, I think-
vibrator.
Wow.
Yeah,
but that's still up
One
to-
of those loopholes.
So
Oh my gosh, incredible.
such a different world.
yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah, it's been interesting to kind of see like every country or like talking to different countries. If I think actually being in Europe also made me feel like I know a lot of Europeans will also say like, you know, a lot of Europe is really like there's a lot of like outdated or like conservative views around sex, but I actually coming from America, it made me feel like America was even more conservative than I always knew that it was. Like in Copenhagen, I talked to a few women and they were saying that they get sex toy or sex education in school. And in their sex education, they actually have where the teacher will exit the room and then a student that is about 6 or 7 years older will come. And then you can ask that person like any questions. And it's like someone that's like a peer, like a little bit older than you. So it's kind of incredible to even see something like that and like having that safe comfort to ask somebody that's like not your teacher sex questions. And I was
Yeah.
like, that is incredible. And so I feel like even when I was in Europe, I had to do it's interesting because I talk so much less about the taboo around sex or having to break the stigma. It seemed like that wasn't really a thing that was as relevant in the US. And I think especially as like an Asian American, we talk about it a lot because it is like there's so much cultural shame and there's so much like societal pressure to not be sexual. So it's just been interesting, I think, for me to see like the wide ranges of like what people consider conservative, but yeah, I mean the hope is to kind of move everyone into at least the idea that women can feel sexual pleasure just like every other human, you know. So I think that's like the big goal.
When I was in Europe, like in Prague, visiting Christina, we went to a sex museum in Prague, and it's just like very normal. Like if it was Times Square in New York, you know, it's like proudly presenting the history of sex. Like we said, even though I lived half my life in America, you live in America, we still feel like our Asian heritage, our Asian identity does play a role in how we view our sexual health and the stigma behind it because of our family, our culture, even though there's an amazing side around family values that we have, it still has this like hush hush culture where you just don't talk about sex. Like
No, nothing
I
at
never
all.
got
Not
the
with your parents.
like how to protect myself,
Yeah.
how to what are contraceptives, how to handle yourself in a relationship. Like that was just something that I feel like most of us learn
That's true.
on the go as we grow up and see which it's like you never know which journey you're going to end up. And I want to make like we were both trying to do it so that Thai women can see like what possibilities there are in terms of contraception. Like, the information is just so segregated and quite confusing to navigate. So this is why Kinky Nerds as well.
Yay, amazing. That was like a really nice intro. That was like a very long, nice intro.
Now. I wanted to ask you, of course, like how has your Asian culture, your heritage, your Korean heritage maybe influenced how you perceive your sexual health?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an incredible question. So I like grew up in Korea. I was born in the US, but we moved back to Korea when I was a baby, and then I lived there till I was 7. So Korean was still my first language, like and all of that, but I definitely grew up in a really religious, like Christian family. We never talked about sex growing up. It was very much one of those things. Like, I think the only thing my mom ever told me, she never said like, if you get pregnant, but she was like, if something happens that you are scared to tell me, you absolutely need to still tell me, even though you're going to get killed. Like, you're going to get so much in trouble, but you still need to tell me, is like kind of the roundabout way I think she told me about sex education growing up. So I was like very scared of my body growing up, well into my mid-20s. And I tell this to people all the time, like before we started the company, like I think where I am now as a person and like feeling very open, it all comes from one, giving yourself the opportunity to explore and understand your body, understanding some of the science and like research behind it, and just feeling normal. But before, I was like, would never talk about it. I think even with friends or like even with partners, I had such a hard time communicating what I liked, what I didn't like, and all of that. And so I would say when we first started, like I started as a mechanical engineer at Amazon. And one of the things I just realized was that products were just never designed with women in mind. And then I very luckily ended up meeting a founder of a different sex toy company. The company doesn't exist anymore. I actually have one of his products. And I remember asking him, like, how do you know what you're building works for women? And he was like, there's this industry standard where you put the vibration on your nose, and that's what a clitoris feels like. And I remember just being like, it's so, yeah. But you know, they do it everywhere. Every sex toy shop and like every sex toy expo that I've ever been to, they still do it. I understand it on the level of like, you have a lot of nerve endings on your nose. So the idea is like, oh, what it feels like here and how intense it is probably going to feel like 10 times more intense on your clitoris. But yeah, I don't know. To me, I like can't correlate. And you might know like the research study just recently, a few months ago, just found that the clitoris has over 12,000 nerve endings, which is like,
there's more than we thought.
It jumped up. And so it's just something that I just remember being like, I just never liked it as a measurement of like what to experience a vibrator as. And so I just remember being like, I feel like we should be able to engineer better vibrators. I think we should be able to design better vibrators for people. Because then the question became like, well, why are all vibrators pink and purple? Why do they all do the exact same thing? Why do they all have the same patterns? Why do they all look the same? And I think it started getting to this thing of like, is it really built with us in mind, or is it, you know, built for people to make money without having to innovate very much? And so as we started looking into like the research around sex and female pleasure, one of the biggest things we found is that there's absolutely very, very little research on female sexual pleasure. I would say even to this day, some of the research papers I probably quote the most are from the 80s. And it's just been a really limited study. So I think there's like a stat that for every 7 papers that are about male sexual function, there's 1 paper on female sexual function. And very often that 1 paper is on fertility. And so I think we just decided that we wanted to build a product that, one, helps you learn about your body and actually just gives you the biofeedback data. And I think the people ask is like, oh, like, is it going to improve it or anything like that? But I think we're at the baseline of kind of even understanding what data looks like for your pleasure, how it can change over time, and then also just making a better vibrator that I think people deserve. And it's all the things. I think it was so fun in the beginning. We were like going through all the things we hated about our current vibrators and then wanting to improve on it. And so I think that's when like the really fun part of
Really
life
fun.
is. It is a really fun exercise. I used to do this workshop like sometimes when I do talks, and it's like I have people with like Play-Doh, like clay, make different their dream vibrators, and it's really, really interesting to see like what people would want in a dream vibrator that doesn't exist. So it's always been like it's a cool exercise I think people should do more often.
I agree. I was just talking to May, our producer. She makes ceramic pipes for cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Weed is legalized now before sex toy.
Oh wow, it is.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
I remember like maybe a little while back we were talking about CBD, and I know like CBD was like kind of legal, and then there's still a gray area.
Legalized.
Yeah.
Like the talk is like mushrooms now. Like people are going, okay, weed now, and then mushroom next. But let's see how that goes. That's
Wow, that's incredible. Actually, that's
Yeah.
actually even makes it more shocking that sex toys are. Why not change the policy on sex toys?
I know. It's a boggle for us too.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
we were thinking about doing a workshop where we do ceramics with like, imagine your dream vibrator, your dream dildo. Like
That's super cool. Actually, I think at least like 3 or 4 times in a workshop, people have always been like, oh, I want my vibrator to have like a little storage case where I keep my weed because they go so well hand in hand together. So it's a really popular one. It's like, that's a really good merge, I feel like, somewhere there.
or like a vibrator that like when you press on a button and like shoots out like CBD lube or something.
Yeah.
So you don't have to reapply.
Yeah, you got to get innovative,
I saw a collage of a person who's like imagining a sex toy, and it was like a butt plug that like keeps track of the energy used, and then there's like a small battery inside it. It was shown that like the heat from the energy from the butt plug can be used to reheat food. So
Wait,
So, like,
that's so cool.
and then you have like a little hot snack post orgasm.
So it's like you're working for you're working for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, that is such a good idea, actually.
But that goes to question also like so the lioness uses biofeedback to measure orgasm strength. So it measures the contractions of the pelvic floor muscles.
Yeah, so I would say there's going to be a handful of ways that you can identify a female orgasm, and it's not a hotly debated topic, but obviously there are so many ways people experience orgasms, and it's not the end all be all to have like a physical biofeedback reaction. But in research, there are a couple things that happen, like your pupil dilate, your heart rate increases, you have perspiration, you sweat, you have blood flow through your clitoris, and then also one of the big ones that a lot of research in the 80s has done is through pelvic floor contractions. So it's how your pelvic floor muscles, like your vaginal muscles, involuntarily squeeze and relax. There's a really unique pattern that happens, which is what can indicate an orgasm. So we've basically taken that research and we integrated sensors into the lioness. So what it's measuring is your involuntary pelvic floor contractions. And so you would pair it to your phone afterwards, and you can actually see the graph of what an orgasm looks like. So it's been really cool to see, like, I would say previously in research, it's always been this like really rhythmic squeeze and relax like this. So you like it has this really rhythmic kind of flow. Typically, I think in research papers, they say it usually lasts about anywhere from 14 to like 56 seconds. So it's been like us kind of going from there and then starting to expand on the research, because now we have so many more people that use it. Obviously in these research papers, the participant numbers are like 11 to like 20 something people, but now it's kind of been exciting because for Lioness we have such a large group of people, and we're able to do more research studies that have just more variety of people from all walks of life, different stages, different ages, and all of that.
That's awesome. So you're getting like much diverse pool of research data now.
Yeah, so I think that's always been like the main goal of Lioness, is to expand the research. It's such a, like, I think people don't realize when I'm like, everyone will be like, oh, there's not enough data, but like, we truly mean like, there's not even baseline data of like, we argue about what an orgasm actually looks like for a woman. We don't know why, like there's theories on why orgasms exist for women. Like the clitoral structure wasn't even, fully discovered or like talked about until very like in the past decade of like what the full clitoris structure looks like. So I think there's so many things that we just haven't discovered yet. And so when we talk about just orgasms and the biofeedback, we're even just so far under. And so our goal is to actually use that data and kind of just get more papers out there, get more understanding of what an orgasm looks like, how it changes over time, and all of that.
Catching up on the research that should be done in the first place.
I know, unfortunately, and fortunately, in the sense of like, I think it becomes a really cool space because there's so much to be discovered. Yeah, I think the hope is like, we can just keep getting research papers out there because it's definitely a tough space to be, for sure.
And then also your TikTok reels doing different research studies is also completely valid in research, I think.
Yeah, that's been social media has been one of I think it's been cool, and I think about this a lot actually now, like building a business, and then obviously I think a lot of us know like social media is such a big aspect of building a business, but I actually think about it now like how cool it is to connect research world and like academia to just the everyday population of people that might not typically be like reading research papers that are published. It's been really cool to kind of find that connection of like, people want that information, but I get it. They're not as like kinky nerds as we are. And so they're not constantly like looking up what the hottest news is. So it's been cool to kind of find that bridge between the two of like understanding how to reach general population and get them interested on the science of sex.
Yeah.
I mean, your studies is my pop culture, If that was in a magazine, like I would read about it,
That's true.
So you've tested marijuana, tested your orgasm data with marijuana, with alcohol. Anything else?
I've definitely become, I think like for anyone listening, like social media just became such a big aspect, kind of accidentally, but I'm really grateful for it. Like our TikTok and Instagram just started really going viral for me experimenting with different things. Like I think the first one I ever did was like alcohol. So like, how does alcohol make my orgasm look different? It actually made it look worse. The most popular one, I think, recently through Instagram has been caffeine, and how caffeine actually made my orgasms look better. And so people were like, oh, I didn't know coffee could do that. But then people were like hotly arguing that coffee gives you a stomach ache. And they're like, that's just the least sexy thing if you're like have a huge stomach ache and things like that. But I've definitely become my own mad scientist. I've experimented with everything and anything. I just recently, in the US, Thanksgiving is coming up, which is like a big eating holiday. You eat a ton of food. So one of my coworkers asked if I can just go and eat like a ton of food, especially ones that make you sleepy. So like high in carbs, high in meats, high in cheese, and then using the Linus and see what that data looks like. So I recently did that one. That'll be published really soon. And then I've done like where I did 30 days of masturbating, and I masturbated for every single day for 30 days. I wrote all these notes on it, like how my mood was that day, how stressed was I, like all sort of different sort, like what did I think, how aroused I was out there. And then I hired a data analyst to actually analyze all that data and just see like some trends over 30 days. So that was like a really fun experiment. And that one was really popular for people. I think one, just because 30 days it was a lot of days to do it consistently.
It's quite the streak.
Yeah.
It is. People were like, oh, that must have been fun. And I was like, dude, there were definitely days I was like, like, I can't break my streak, but I like don't even feel like masturbating, but I was doing it for science, you know?
Also changes throughout your menstrual
fluctuates.
cycle.
Yeah, with the cycle.
Yeah, and this is like, and I feel a little embarrassed like admitting this, but I think it's a really important point, is that we just have such lack of information around our sexual health. And so a lot of times, like I don't even ask my doctors, or I just like don't know things, and you just have to like either really look it up or things like that. But when I did the 30 days of masturbation, I never thought to track like my hormonal cycle or fertility cycle, because I have an IUD. And to me, I thought, oh, if you have an IUD, like it doesn't matter, like you don't really have a cycle. And it was only actually recently I talked to Ida Tin from Clue, and she was like, what are you talking about? She's like, you can still track it. And then I felt so embarrassed because it felt like one of those things that I should have known. But again, it's the thing of like, dang, like these are all this information no one tells you. I'm not sure my OBGYN ever told me anything about like what my IUD does. She was just like, okay, here you go, kind of thing. And then that was it.
That's so true, because I actually, when I was working at KEG, the fertility tracker, I was one of the first testers, and I had an IUD too. So I was like, this isn't going to show me anything, but I learned fertility awareness. So I checked my body temperature and my cervical mucus, and I confirmed ovulation when I was on the hormonal IUD. So I was like,
oh my God.
So I was actually ovulating on the hormonal IUD. And when I for science, for KEG, and I tracked my mucus, my cervical mucus, my basal body temperature, and I was like ovulating more regular than I thought. So it was like the feeling. So the IUD makes the sperm inhospitable. No, but
you're still just like doing your thing.
Yeah.
See, that's like it's like one of those things I'm like, dang, I know a lot about orgasms, but then suddenly I don't know anything about like my own fertility cycle. So I will do the 30 days probably again, and then actually track all of that, because now I'm like, oh, that is a good point. I should have tracked all of that.
Yeah, you might be ovulating and you don't even know.
Yeah.
I know. No, lessons learned. I have to do it all over again,
For science.
Yes.
For science.
Yeah, we also wanted to cover the basics about the benefits of the orgasm, because there's many of them. But do you find that through the latest research, there's more talking about these benefits?
Yeah, I would say within research, one of the things that we're mainly looking at is not so much on like the outcome of an orgasm. And I will say more anecdotally as to like why, for example, like biofeedback, because we're so much in the camp of like having data about your orgasm. And what we know is that biofeedback data does help you understand your body better. So whether you have like a fitness tracker, a sleep tracker, any of that, like, nutrition tracker, those are all things that actually help you feel more confident and in understanding your body. So for me, like the belief is that when you have orgasms, and I think there's a difference between having orgasms from partnered sex and then from just solo play, like masturbation, and why it's so important is to just like understand your body and what sexual pleasure means to you and like what that outcome looks like. And so I think for me, like, I think understanding that orgasms are just beneficial, I think mentally. And then there's the thing of like feeling confident in yourself and understanding, like embracing your own sexual side. I think there's something very impactful here. But then there's there's going to be all those like ones that everyone will tell you about orgasms are like, better mood, better sleep, all of those things. But I think for me, the most valuable thing is like feeling like in touch with your sexuality and like it's almost like giving yourself body the permission to be that, I think is like so incredible. And maybe that's something that is like specifically maybe more relatable for like Asians and like Asian Americans and things like that. Because for me, like it was this thing of like feeling so separated from my sexuality. And like I think connecting that and like feeling like you can own your own pleasure, I think there's something very powerful. So I think beyond orgasms, like something about masturbation is just so incredible.
Imagine if we had a lioness before, when we were younger, like starting to understand our sexual pleasure, what makes us feel good, like before we even considered doing it with a partner. And like, oh, I like this, I prefer this, oh, we do this, before just like going into the wild and see what happens and being like, oh shit.
And it would be a lot easier for us to say no when it's needed.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally. And I think the story that I heard once when we were like interviewing users and like in the beginning, and it like really stuck with me, is that she was saying like most of us, especially like if we're like in heterosexual relationships, especially, like you learn about pleasure through the lens of somebody else, like a guy, usually, like what sex is supposed to look like, what pleasure is supposed to look like. You most probably have learned it through a lens of somebody, a guy, versus like for yourself. And so like what sex should look like, is how long it should last, like all of these things. And that really resonated with me of like, I really do think like taking the time to understand your pleasure and understand what works for you and what doesn't. And even if it's not necessarily the orgasm itself, but just like what feels pleasurable for you, what makes you get into that mood. Like we don't really give ourselves that opportunity, I think, especially when we're young, because we have so many insecurities and all of that we come with.
And also you're living in like a household of like 5 and there's just around. You're like, your mom can come
absolutely
come
no
in at any
personal
time.
Space.
Like if we were having
actually so
podcast at home, my mom would be coming in being like, do you want lunch? Like
we actually did like an accumulation of like 12 months of pleasure. So similar to like if you're familiar with like Spotify Wrap, they do like 12 months of all the data and like kind of like accumulation of like what people were listening to, what genres got popular, all that. We actually found one of the holidays.
Instagram stories. Like imagine if everybody just posts that on Instagram stories at the end of
yeah, so that's what we're gonna launch on December 1st, is like we accumulated 12 months of data. And so actually one of the interesting things we found was one of the holidays that are the least popular is Thanksgiving. And our guess is because you're usually with family during that time, so like you know, all you're visiting either relatives, or relatives are at your house, so there's like no alone time. So yeah, I definitely understand this idea of like, yeah, you're like always in a family of like 5 or 10, and then your mom always like, you know, will open the door no matter, like there's no like sense of like knocking or privacy, and so like they'll open your door at any moment. So yeah, I think when we're young,
my parents and like a lot of their generation were from Chinese Thai heritage, so they grew up with like 7 siblings, and they all sleep in the same room until like they move out to college. And then so like how do you find that even time to, you know, self-care time that we all value so much today? Like they were just like trying to find time to use the bathroom.
yeah, that's very true. I would have to assume that's why so many people like find themselves through like showering, or like their shower heads. I hear that story a lot, shower heads and like bathtub faucets and all of that. That's gotta be like my guess as to why.
Yeah, Coco, you told me that people get pretty creative here when sex toys are not available.
Yeah, because in Thailand you have the bidet, like the bum gun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's become a lot of people's first sex toy. It will miss the hole and hit the clitoris instead, and that's how they find out.
Wow, that's actually great.
Yeah. You know when you finish, right? Like how most people know when they've orgasmed, right? Imagine I don't know anything about orgasms. Like how would you describe the feeling of an orgasm?
Ooh, so that is a great question. Okay, if I had to explain to somebody what it's like.
For me, it would be something like, you know, when you finish peeing and there's like runs through you, kind of like that.
So when you
It's
need to
like-
go to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's like equally pleasurable.
Equally.
Yeah.
Not or do
Those
I
are
just
good
orgasm
teas.
every time I pee?
If peeing was that pleasurable every time, you are a lucky girl.
Thank you.
I think the best way I would describe it is like it's a release. Like there's like a brain release that happens. And I think this is why it's like that annoying thing where people will say like you'll know when it happens. Like you'll know kind of thing. And it's an annoying answer, but it is this like thing of like feeling like you're scratching a good itch. Like you feel like you've hit something where it like releases your kind of tension, like a huge wave of relief. I would say is like my best way to describe it.
Can you have a bad orgasm?
Yes. I mean, I think now that I'm so hyper cognizant of all my orgasms, I think like, especially with the lioness, like for me, I know for a fact that when I am in times where I'm really, really stressed, and this is different for everyone. I have people that I know that when they're stressed, they actually have better orgasms. Mine are like such a small blip, and like in the data, it looks like a really small like blip, and it's really, really short.
It's like up and down, like a blip, like a literal blip.
Yeah, it's like two little like squeezes. It's usually like 7 seconds max, and it's really, really
All
like a
that
light
hard work.
pulse. I know. And I think to me, it feels bad because it feels like I probably like masturbated to get stress relief. And then when you're already stressed and then you have that's what I would consider a bad orgasm. It's like, it feels bad because it's like not satisfying in the way that I thought it was going to be. And then now you're just more frustrated. So that's what I would call a bad orgasm.
It's
But I
like
guess at the end of the day, yeah.
for someone who's never orgasm, it's like getting ready to go out with your friends, getting all excited, putting on your makeup, getting dressed up and going out, and the environment is shit and you're not having fun. And it's like, what did I do
Yeah.
this for?
Yeah, like this was like such I could have used my time better kind of feeling. And that's like a thing, like I think you can mentally obviously reprogram yourself to not think like that. But yeah, that's like one that catches me every time. It's like me being very stressed.
Like most of us are living on a quite stressful level. Like there's a lot of stress going on for a lot of people. And I get this question a lot. I'm sure you do too. If you and your partner is stressed, you come home, but you do want to put in effort. Like, how do you get in the zone, turn yourself on, or have like a really good quickie without like putting the stress behind? And how do you focus on the pleasure?
I think this answer goes to the same answer I would have for people, especially who are like, I've never had an orgasm. How do I get to one? I always tell people, and I think this is the same answer for your your scenario, is that it really is about like taking like 10 steps back of not just focusing on the sex part, but being like, how do you get yourself into a place where you feel mentally good and mentally sexy, or like feel good about yourself? And I think this really goes back to eating a ton of food. What for me, like that experiment of eating a ton of food and what the orgasm looks like. For me, the orgasm just didn't feel as nice, only because I just didn't feel like in my zone, because I felt so bloated and I felt so like just way too full and uncomfortable. And so I think it's a thing of like when you come home stressed, I think it's like you finding yourself the moments for like self-care that feels good beyond just sexually feels good. So like taking a bath, does that feel good for you? Is wearing something cute or like putting on mascara make you feel good? Like those are the little prompts of things that just generally center you first. I think just things that make you feel good outside of sex. So I would say it's the same realm of like, I wish I was a better salesperson for my company and I could be like, yeah, buy the Linus, it'll fix all your problems. But I always tell people like, on a grand scheme of things, I think sometimes we focus so much on just the sexual part of sex that like we forget like it's all the things that need to go right in order for you to get to this point. And it's a lot of like being in the right mental space. It's about feeling good about yourself. It's feeling sexy and all of that.
So it can start from like when you're at work or like you're getting home or like when you wake up. It's like the foreplay can be way, way before any type of penetration or touch happens.
Yeah. Like I will say like sometimes like I will feel myself if I just put some mascara on. Like if I don't have makeup on all day and then I just like put on mascara, I'm like, oh, like look at me and it makes me feel good. Yeah, it's even just really, really small things like that I think we like often forget to do. It's like the part of self-care I think we like often forget when we're like trying to focus on the sex kind of thing.
In Thai, I just realized from Pikoko that the word foreplay there's no mainstream word for foreplay.
Yeah, like it sounds very dated and like actually nobody uses it anymore. It sounds weird because it's not like an everyday vocab.
Oh, interesting. So then you just call it like beforehand do these things?
What do you call?
I doubt that the idea is even out there anymore because like everybody talks about sex and how to feel sexy and how to pleasure yourself and how to pleasure your partner, but the idea is still around penetrative sex.
Oh, interesting.
Still heterosexual.
Yes, correct. They talk a lot about skinship though. Their idea of like feeling more homey, feeling more satisfied and feeling more connected. But in the terms of like sexual pleasure, that's still like separated.
Oh wow. Yeah. Skinship is good though. That's a good one.
Like, I would say they're more mindful about connection, but when it comes to sex, it's still very outdated.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, I would say it's not far from, I feel like the US, like we talk about foreplay, and does it actually happen? Does it actually happen to the amount that people actually want? I have no idea. I doubt it.
Yeah. Like the orgasm gap that is, a lot of studies around the orgasm gap. It says lesbian sex has the best sex, right? Lesbian couples have the best. And so if we don't talk about that, if we don't understand why they're having the best sex, how can heterosexual couples improve on their own? Why?
I agree.
Also, do you have any research on the orgasm gap in Asia that you know of?
I don't. Yeah, Peril, no. I think that's one of my biggest passion projects that I actually want to launch is understanding like the state of, I think, perception of sex and masturbation all across Asia. So like all the different Asian countries and ideally like around the world, I think is such a good question. That's like one of my passion projects that I've always wanted to launch. And I think, I like would love to do something like that because I think it'll be really interesting. And I think people will be actually surprised what the answers will be. Like, like I think in Korea, like just seeing all those sex toy shops, I was really surprised. But then just the idea, like people are open about talking about masturbation and having sex toys and all of that. Like there's just so much more openness than people think. And I think like a lot of times people assume that Japan is like really sexual because of like the stereotypes of, there's the Japanese porn industry, there's like hentai, like all of these different like things. But if we look at women's sexual pleasure specifically, it's still such a big taboo, and like owning a sex toy for female masturbation is such a taboo still. So I think we'd be really interested. It'll be really interesting research to actually understand like what everyone feels, I think, across the world.
I don't even know, like, are Asian women like anatomically smaller? I don't know. Some people say it's too big, some say it hurts, or like even when they give birth, like oftentimes they say that they had to get a C-section because their body is small. I'm like, well, our bodies are evolved to give birth no matter if you're Asian or otherwise. So
yeah, I actually very recently read a paper it was on giving birth, and it wasn't done in the US, but then they basically split it on the ethnicity of person, and they saw that Asian people that were giving birth were having more high likely chance of tearing. And so the question becomes like, why? There's a variety of things. It could be anatomical, it could be that, maybe culturally we're not doing the same stretches, or I don't know. There's like so many suite of things. But it did make me think and question. I've heard people anecdotally telling me like, oh, like Asian women are different, like anatomically it's different, like all these things. It becomes a really not an ethical dilemma, but I always think about it of sometimes I'm like, oh, like, are these things that are good to know? And maybe it's just true facts, but it's also perpetuating stereotypes of like, oh, like Asian women are smaller, like all these things. And so I actually think about it a lot from time to time of like what it means. But I will very honestly say, like, anecdotally, I've heard it quite a bit of that. And then there are some papers on vaginal tearing for Asian women, just a higher likely chance. But it's kind of an interesting, like, I don't know. I guess it's the question of like, should people study it? But also it's important in how we address healthcare for people, right? Like it should feel like there's different levels of things that we should be aware of and like more likeliness of tearing and all of that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, to me, I always find it a very like philosophical question of like, is this something we should research and all of that?
Do you ever hold team meetings and then you just think of research questions, or do you have like a board of research questions that you have, like a priority list?
I would say like, I think the hard thing about how our company is structured, so obviously our business is, we're a for-profit business. And so like for us, like in order for the business to survive, we have to sell product. So I think the interesting challenge that has become for our company that's really uniquely different from other sex toy companies is our passion and our goal is in research, but a lot of times we're focused so much on the business of sex toys and selling our product. Also, because we're a for-profit company, it actually gets a little bit gray area for us to actually pay for research studies to be done, because then it looks like there's some, like conflict of interest and things like that. So usually the way we do it is we actually have researchers who are interested in doing research. We don't financially support it. What we do is we actually help them get research participants and then get data from those research participants. So we channel it in that way. So we more just do things that other researchers want to do. Like we want to empower those researchers to be able to do those studies. But there is one study that actually, there's two studies that I would love to see in this world. And it's probably two of the most common things I get asked that I don't have a good answer for is one, SSRIs. So, things like antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicines. So many of those are known factors that, kill sex drives. And so it's a question we get a lot. Would love to have some baseline data on that and like what it actually does, how much it affects it. And then the other one is actually post-pregnancy. I think I'm at an age where so many of my friends have kids, and I've heard it so many times that post-pregnancy, something in your sexual function will change. The way that orgasms feel, the way that your pleasure, the desensitization, just so many different things. And there's not a lot of guided examples of how to navigate it or understand what happened. And I think those are two things that I would love to see, because those are things that people experience a lot, putting it out into the world.
I will, more power to that idea. Plant the seeds and I hope it grows, because we want to see that too. Also, I want to see like, how do moms have sexual pleasures? How do women in menopause, postmenopausal, like how's their sex drive doing? I just recently read the news that in France, some like an elderly home, they provided sex toys to the people in the elderly home. To me, that's genius. It's like you keep them busy, keep them happy, and you're like not that much investment, like long term.
Yeah, no, that's great. I will also say like the really fun, interesting thing about our company is I would say a big purchasing group is the postmenopausal group. I think that always surprises people because they think it's like our product is going to be more targeted to like Gen Z millennials, but actually like one of our biggest purchasing groups and the biggest advocates, the ones that are like sending us emails, excited about new features, giving us like their thoughts and like, feedback are actually like the postmenopausal group. And that like, it gives me hope that, I think a lot of times it's a forgotten group that we often don't like, they don't have enough things that are catered towards them. But yeah, that's been a really cool thing for us to see.
It's really good.
That's really cool. Like, does your libido drop when you're in postmenopausal? Have you found that out?
So we don't know, but we have a researcher actually right now Dee Hartman. She's a pelvic floor therapist. She's doing a research study on different age ranges and if orgasms look different. So not specifically on libido, but is there a physiological difference in orgasms? And so far she's found that women that are in their like 40 plus, I think, have stronger orgasms generally. So it's kind of a fun like thing that we've seen so far.
That is
so good.
So makes me so hopeful about the future.
Because a lot of the times when we talk to like older women about sex toys or like sexual pleasure, they would just shut it down by, oh, I'm postmenopausal, like I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, like I'm retired.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
this is for my daughter.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
makes sense to think that way, to be conditioned to think that way, because
exactly.
Like all media tells you like a sexy
you're
person
no longer sexual.
In their 30s, or like that's the image of a sexual person for you is when you're young and not
totally.
But they haven't seen enough.
Yeah, so I would love to have that kind of information to debunk it, and then like, no, you're still relevant. You can still
So it's like longer orgasms too.
I have to look again. I can send you also the link for it, but I know for sure it's stronger. I can't remember if there's longer as well, but stronger for sure.
I also wanted to ask, do women orgasm for longer periods, or people with vaginas orgasm for longer periods of time? Like, is the duration longer?
Yeah, so I would say, so in research, they typically will quote, there's anywhere ranging, depending on what paper you're reading and how they measured it, but typically ranging from 14 to 56 seconds, I think is like the range, the mean being 24 seconds. So I recently just read a paper that was from the 80s, and their mean was 24 seconds. In our research, actually, so that pleasure raft we're doing, so the year accumulation, what we've seen on our data is 24.01 is the average. So that's what we've seen as like the average length of how long an orgasm lasts, perceived orgasm. So what the person thinks is the beginning and the end. And then for people with penises, I can't remember what the number is, but it's much shorter. It's like 7 to 12 seconds, I believe. So typically female orgasms are perceived to last longer.
Is that why they're also, there's always talk in like men groups saying like if you do No Nut November, where you don't ejaculate for a month, and then your orgasms will be better, longer. Is that a myth between the men? And then like,
I would say, I think Coco, you might be able to answer that one better, but from what I understand, it's similar to the question of like, does using vibrators every day for people with vulvas desensitize your clitoris and make you not be able to have orgasms, so you should like take a break? It's a myth in the sense of like, it doesn't permanently desensitize you, but it's the idea that if you're using it every single day, a very specific way that you're masturbating, you get used to that way of masturbating and that way of having an orgasm. So you're kind of creating that rhythm for yourself. So the nice thing about taking a break is you're taking a break from that habit of like doing it that's very specific way. I'm not personally in the camp of like, I don't think it's like a thing where you have to take like a break, or like, people do like a year of quote unquote celibacy, or no porn or no masturbating or all that, or people saying that there's like they have a sex addiction, masturbation addiction, all of that. So I'm not in the camp of that specifically. It's a very, very, very small set of people that actually could have like a quote unquote sex addiction, but taking a break, I think, is fine if that's like a personal preference. I think what you're really doing is just breaking a habit of the typical way that you're orgasming and having like masturbating or having sex. So that could be nice, but No Nut November, I don't know my thoughts on it beyond just like, it's like a fun thing for people to try, and maybe try like changing it up or breaking a habit or something.
I mean, I guess they don't really have much to vary.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot to play around with.
Yeah.
Like a left hand and a right hand,
Yeah, left hand, right hand.
Yeah, because like I see it through a kinky lens. Because like October was Locktober.
What's that?
Like you lock yourself in a
Oh,
plastic cage.
that's
So it's like,
cute.
yeah, 2 months of like cum control. You're locked throughout October, and then you may be released for November, but it's not November.
Oh, okay.
Coco is a dominatrix, by the way.
Oh, incredible. Okay, that's great. So in a kinky perspective, not November, I think it's great. If you're doing like orgasm control, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's great. This whole thing of like, oh, all dudes should do it just because I'm like, yeah, but like why?
Yeah, so
true.
it's less of a health concern for me and more of a kinky fun.
Yeah. Okay. On a kinky perspective, I'm definitely for it. I think from a health perspective, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there on like what sex addictions are and things like that.
Valid. Do you want to do the lightning round questions?
Actually, I have a question. Because Lioness measures biodata for orgasm, right? So like, does that mean it measures, like it keeps all of the data since turning on?
Like in terms of like data for yourself or like in our cloud system or whatever?
For ourselves.
Okay. Yeah, so basically when you insert the Lioness, it'll start recording that data. So what it does is you can either use it live view, so you can actually have your phone with you and see the data come in real time, so you can actually see what it looks like. So people that are like usually doing Kegel exercises, they like doing it because they can see exactly what's happening. And we actually just released a feature where you can have your partner from across the world see that data and then control the motor at the same time. But then you can also just use it like a normal vibrator and then pair it to your phone. So we have an app, and then all your data will go onto this app. And so you can see like all your data from however many times you've used it over the years. And then you can actually, for like the very nerds out there, like you can actually export your data as a raw file. So you could do like other fun things with it. We've had like people make music with their data, artwork, all sorts of things. So like anyone, and games. So you can always export your data for yourself.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I want to like my orgasm data to my doctor, being like, here's my overall sexual health.
Yeah, I know. One day we'll get there.
Yeah, and I was also thinking about the sexual response cycle. I was wondering how that data could be used to maybe develop new ideas of the sexual response cycle, like what happens when a person with a vagina orgasm, and then does it subside? Does it just say, like, you orgasm again, or like what happens now?
Yeah, I think that'd be such a good like exploration. Like we've seen right now, only about 4.6% of people have like multiple orgasms in their data. And so it's a question of like whether they know they can do it or they don't think they can do multiple orgasms, or usually maybe people are like one and done kind of people. I'm generally like a one and done person. But yeah, so far in our data, we've seen about 4.6% of people that have like multiple orgasms. We haven't done like the research on like what the gap is between both orgasms, but that would be a really, really interesting thing to like look into deeper.
That would be so fun.
Sure.
I think cool research.
I think we need to find a way to get us to produce.
We need like an orgasm conference, international.
I know. Actually, that would be so cool. I love that. And then everyone like go back to their hotel rooms, do their data, and then they like bring it back. And then we like process all that data. That'd be so cool.
Like a whole itinerary. Like this is
I like this idea
of you, how like this is the level up. This is how with pleasure points. This is your goal for today. This is the pleasure point you're trying to achieve.
Oh, I love that. We did actually recently have at Burning Man 2 artists that did the tip of the iceberg.
I know, so cool.
Yeah. And so in that structure, the lights were like glowing. And so what was happening was people donated their Lioness data. And so it was glowing to the orgasm data that we had our users donate. Yeah, so then I know at Camp Beaverton, actually we donated a couple lionesses to them. So they actually like during their play party, they would use the lioness or they can like check it out. And then that data would automatically go into the artwork. So as they used it, that data would get uploaded into the artwork. So there's like cool things that there's like in that realm.
Lightning installation according to your
Yeah.
orgasm pattern.
Yeah. We gotta do like a cool conference like this. I love it.
Or like just a music festival.
Yeah, that's true. Music festival would be nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have a few lightning questions for you just to wrap up.
Okay, let's
Okay.
do it.
Number one, what's your secret to sexual pleasure?
Okay, what's my secret to sexual pleasure? I think masturbating. Well, I'm a team lioness for sure, but I'm definitely like a clitoral stimulation. So whether it's like hands or like a bullet, like I will always carry a bullet with me everywhere I travel, even if I don't carry the lioness. That's like my big secret. But I will say at this point in my life, I'm like a master experimenter. So, but I'm definitely like a team clitoral stimulation.
Actually have a question on that too, so you
Yeah.
already answered that.
Yeah, the question was spot or clitoral.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, clitoral.
The third one then. What turns you on? How do you set the vibe?
Honestly, I think for me, it's like a lot of texting, pre-texting, like dirty texts.
That's nice. A lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like so nasty. Like, I mean, nasty is good, but like it could even just be like, I can't wait for like later. I think that's like super cute.
Just to
Yeah.
get your
Anticipation.
mind there.
Totally.
I'm gonna pick you up at work.
Yeah, see how cute is that? And then I'd be like, oh, I'm like excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works for me too.
Yeah. And now the last one is, how do you feel being a female body?
Ooh, I think I've had a lot of like love-hate relationships with it growing up. I think now like I can't imagine, it feels like such an honor to be it for me. Like I think it's a really good question, but I think for me, like I had a lot of like growing up, I think especially in like a patriarchal family and like our culture was really patriarchal. It did feel like a lot of times like, you know, there wasn't as much of value of being a woman. But I think now, like, I can't imagine anything else. Like, I think as I've gotten older and I've met so many incredible women, all I know is like the female body is some of the most incredible things that I think people just will not ever be able to fathom beyond like, I don't know, like what you can experience, like, you know, have like giving birth, like carrying a child for 9 months, like all these different things, having a clitoris, having like the experience of a female orgasm. Like, I think there's so many incredible things about the female body that we don't give enough flowers to. And I feel very, very, very grateful to be female body. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's so sweet. And I just want to say, is that all?
Yes.
That's all? Okay.
That's all the questions.
I
Thank
just
you
want to
so
say,
much.
Anna, like all of the female founders in the sex tech and the femtech space are also inspiring to us, especially when there's like not the industry is like so small here, but so we're like rooting for you and like really championing you and
Oh, thank you.
putting out your pleasure data and being on like the Times and like being featured in like Korean magazines, and your mom is like supporting you and seeing that you're kind of paving the way in the sexual wellness industry is like something that makes us both really proud to be watching.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I super appreciate that's really, really nice. I think yeah, like I think it's the thing of I have to always remind myself, like, yeah, like I think when you're a founder of a small company, you will go through so many parts where you're like, why am I doing this? Like, this is just grueling. But yeah, I think it's those moments of like having to remind yourself, like, this industry, especially, like, we need more people to constantly talk about it and just get the word out there and just constantly break stigma. So I think I'm excited for you guys too. This is like a really cool space. And I'm going to put out there also hoping that you'll change Thailand's policies maybe on sex toys. That'd be really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you to that. And we hope so too.
Yes.
Yay! I'm rooting for you.
Thank you so much for today, Anna.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I know you're tackling Europe now, but when Asia comes along, have us a part of your tour And
Yes.
we want
Yes.
to on Thai women too.
Yes. Yes.
because-
I know, that'd be really cool. I would be so excited about that.
Yeah, we're like preparing all like the connections with the universities,
Yes.
the researchers, and we'll be here when it's ready. Because yeah, there's just
Fully ready.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm excited. I know, I really do want to do this like study across all of Asia thing. So yeah, be prepared for this. I'm
Mhm.
excited about it.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll keep in touch and let me know if I can be helpful.
Yeah, and also our compensation is like an Uber ride for you. So when we have merch, Kinky Nerd merch, we'll just send you like a gift basket of Kinky Nerd merch.
Oh, yay. Okay, I would love it. I
Okay.
have a feeling the merch is going to be really good. So I'm excited about
Really
it.
excited.
Yay. Okay, I would love merch. That'd be great.
Thank you, Anna. Have a good night.
Cool. Okay. Bye. Bye-bye.